Okay, so we are going to use the Excel solver tool to find which combination of numbers is equaling a variance that we are seeing. And if you are in accounting or finance or really any numbers field and you come across something like this, maybe you're a developer or a database administrator, you're testing your work and you come up to something like this, Solver is incredibly helpful and it's going to save you a lot of time hunting for variances. So what I have here is in column a group of values. And what I'm noticing is that there's actually a variance between what's listed in this group here in all of these numbers in column A and what's actually being reported. So I need to find which numbers sum up to that particular variance. And so to do that, if I go ahead and grab all of these numbers and I look at the sum down here, I can see the sum is 673, 446, but the reported total is 633, 733. So we definitely have something going on here. There's a difference between that of about $40,000. So what I'm going to do is that by using the solver tool, I have to set up a couple things first because I have to give Excel the ability to test out different potential solutions to actually be able to solve for the variance and find which numbers are not being added into the total, this reported total. And so I have to add two additional columns. The first column I'm going to have to add is an integer column. You can call it whatever you want. You don't even have to label it. But I am just going to add a 1 to every cell here we need. So I'm just going to go ahead and double click that down. In column C, all I'm going to do is multiply column A by column B to give me column C. So it will be equal to column A because we're only multiplying it by 1. So I'm going to do equals A2 times B2. That's it. Very simple. So we can see here, this is what the table should look like from top to bottom. That's it. That's what I want to see. And so when we actually go to set this up, we need a couple of things over here. So we have what the total being reported is. Then we need a cell that's going to give me the total that we have here in this list. But we don't want to total up the value. We want to total up this multiplied column because Solver is going to figure out your answer by changing these ones to zeros and giving you, basically showing you what is causing the variance. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a sum here and we're going to grab all of column C. Close that up, enter. So we can see that the actual total that we have, because all of these are just multiplied by 1, so it's the same as column A, the actual total is, again, that 673,446 that we saw earlier. And so what we're going to do here to find the variance is we're going to say, what's the actual total subtracted from whatever it is we're seeing being reported. And we see, yep, it's about $40,000. So we need to figure out which from column A, which of these numbers are actually totaling this variance here. And Microsoft Solver is one of the quickest ways to do that. So on your data tab, you may or may not have this solver tool. If you don't have it, go to File, Options, Add-ins, and then you should be able to see Solver Add-in. Click OK there, and then it should show up for you. If it still doesn't, go to Add-ins and just select the checkbox there. And then it will pop up here on your data tab. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select Solver here. You're going to see that I've already been working with this a little bit. But what we are doing here is basically setting our objective, telling Excel what to change, and then setting particular constraints. So it's very simple math that we're doing here, very simple logic. So our objective is to get cell F3 to equal 0. And because we used a formula, which connected to the actual total here, which was really a formula used summing column C, everything is linked in this workbook correctly so that it can actually solve for that and get it so that this F3 can equal 0. We're going to change this to a value of 0 if it's not set there already. And we are going to achieve this goal by changing variable cells in our B column. So these integer cells. So right now they are all set to 1. And what we're going to do is tell Excel that we want to change these to 0 or 1 to make it so there is no variance here. And so by doing that, we're going to set several constraints. So the B cells in column B here, we're going to see that is what's used for each of the 3 constraints. If you want to add a constraint, you click add. So I can say I want my constraint to be all of these B cells, and it's going to be less than or equal to 1. I only want to see 1s and 0s in this list. In this example, I'm just going to click, I'm not going to click anything, and I'm going to go back. And then the next, you would realistically click add. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to, this would be my second constraint that I would add if I hadn't already added them. And it's going to be the same cell reference, and it's greater or equal to 0. So we want to change column B to 1s or 0s only. And in order to keep it from doing decimals, we need a third constraint. So if I were going in after I add those 2 constraints, I'm going to add a third one for integer. So then that way it is going to keep it a whole 0 or a whole 1, and it won't give us a bunch of decimals. So we could click OK. I'm going to click cancel. I already have these added, but these are the integers you want to see. And then we are going to select the solving method, simplex LP. This is all we have to set up. It's quite simple. And you might be thinking, oh, it'd be a lot easier for me to go through all of these numbers. Well, depending on the size of your data, it may not be, but also once you get used to this, it takes a minute or 2 to set up. So then all I'm going to do is click on solve. It's going to go through many different options here. And so this might take a few minutes. Realistically, it typically takes less than 1. So I'm going to wait. I'll come back. Okay. So took about a minute, and we can see here that it actually has an answer for us. And so if I click on OK, it's going to take a second to think. And once it does, I see that the variance is now 0. The actual total and the reported total are equal. And we can see clearly that the cells that this solver tool changed to 0 in column B, these values were summing up to what that variance was. So if I go, I can select really quickly these problem cells. And see that the sum of those problem cells is that 39,713 that we had previously reported. So that's what Solver did for us. It gave us a variance of 0 when we previously saw this variance of 39,713. And I can double check that. You know, you can run Solver again, but I can double check that by copying ones all the way down and seeing that was my variance. And if I don't want to keep that, you can either run Solver again if you really want to, or you can just undo, and then it brings you back. So you know these are your problem children, whatever. And that is Solver. One way to use it. There are many, many ways to use it, but that is a very common way that I see it used in my particular field. So if you have any questions about that, please drop it in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And please reach out and let me know what kind of content you would also like to see. So what other Excel problems you may be coming into